have you ever really thought about how a new medicine makes that journey from a lab, through trials, and all the way to your pharmacy shelf? Well, it's a super complex process, but it really boils down to one powerful question that we're going to dig into today. And, it all starts with a pretty surprising idea.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. That sounds completely wrong. Maybe even a little scary, right? We're all conditioned to think that safety is the #1 absolute priority. But what if the whole idea of a perfectly safe drug is a myth? And what if regulators are actually looking for something totally different?
And boom, there it is. That right there is the single most important idea in all of drug approval. It's not about finding a magical drug with zero risk, because let's be real, that drug doesn't exist. It's about a very careful, very deliberate judgment. It's a true balancing act. Okay, so first things first, let's just go ahead and officially bust that myth. This common idea that a drug has to be proven 100% totally, completely safe before it ever sees the light of day.
Think about it. Pretty much any therapy that has a real, noticeable effect on your body, from a simple aspirin to the most cutting-edge cancer treatment, is going to carry some kind of risk. So regulators don't even bother asking an impossible question. Instead, they ask a much smarter and way more meaningful one.
And that leads us right to the core principle that guides every single one of these decisions. This isn't just some simple checklist they run through. No, it's a dynamic, thoughtful evaluation that has a name: the benefit-risk assessment.
What's so critical about this definition is that last little phrase, within the context of its intended use. See, this isn't just about the pill itself. It's about the pill for a specific disease in a specific group of patients. It's the whole picture.
So we can really break this whole thing down into 3 big steps. Step 1, what good does it actually do? Step 2, what's the downside? What harm could it cause? And step 3, and this is the one that changes everything, what's the situation? Who are we trying to treat, and what other choices do they even have?
So if we're picturing this as a set of old-school balancing scales, what are regulators actually piling onto each side? Well, it's not just one thing. It's a mix of 2 really different kinds of information. On one side of the scale, you've got the hard data. We're talking about the cold, objective numbers that come pouring out of those clinical trials. But on the other side, you have the human element, the real-world context and clinical judgment that gives all those numbers their meaning. And you absolutely have to have both. So these are the quantitative bits, the hard numbers. We're talking about really specific metrics, like by how much did this drug lower the risk of a heart attack compared to a sugar pill? Or, what exact percentage of people got a headache as a side effect? This is the data that forms the objective foundation for the whole thing.
And then there's this side. This is where the art of medicine really meets the science. Are we treating a mild cold that'll go away on its own, or are we fighting a life-threatening cancer? Are there already 10 other great drugs for this, or is this the very first glimmer of hope for these patients? I mean, these kinds of questions completely change how you look at the numbers.
Okay, so look at this. 20%. Just a number kind of floating there. Does that feel big to you? Small? Is it good? Bad? By itself, it's totally meaningless, isn't it?
And this just nails the point perfectly. A 20% faster recovery from a common headache? That's kind of nice, but probably not worth a serious risk. But a 20% better chance of survival for someone with a terminal illness, my gosh, that is absolutely groundbreaking. It's the same number, but it has a completely different value depending on the context.
All right, but a huge part of this whole process is learning how to deal with something that, makes all of us a little uncomfortable: uncertainty. Because no matter how big or how perfectly designed a clinical trial is, it can never tell you everything.
Yeah, even the biggest, most expensive studies have their limits. Maybe they only followed patients for a year, so we have no idea what happens 5 or 10 years down the road. Or maybe the study didn't include enough older patients, or people from different ethnic backgrounds. These are what you'd call the known unknowns. And here's a really fascinating peek into the psychology of this whole thing. The best submissions, the ones that are most likely to succeed, they don't try to sweep these uncertainties under the rug. No, they put them right out there, front and center. That kind of transparency builds trust. It shows the regulators that the company has really thought through the entire picture.
So if you know there's always going to be some uncertainty, how does a regulator ever get comfortable enough to say yes? Well, they build a safety net. And approval often comes with strings attached, a clear plan to actively manage and monitor the risks after the drug hits the market. This makes sure that balance keeps tipping in favor of the patient. All right, let's bring this all together. Because at the end of the day, After every piece of data has been crunched and all the context has been weighed, someone has to make a final call. And it's a decision that carries an incredible amount of weight.
I absolutely love this line because it just elevates the entire conversation, doesn't it? This isn't just some technical exercise in statistics. It is a deeply, deeply human process that sits right at the intersection of science, our values as a society, and the public health policies we create.
And that's what we can never, ever forget. This whole complex, data-heavy, scientific process, it's all about people. Real people facing real illnesses, just hoping for a treatment that can give them a better life, or maybe, in some cases, just a little more time.
You know, there's no easy one-size-fits-all answer to that question. It changes for every single disease, for every patient, and for every new treatment that comes along. It's the profound, incredibly challenging question that regulators, doctors, and all of us as patients have to grapple with every single day.